All right, my friends, welcome to episode 80 of Prof and Dev Play Games. This is the round number episode. I am the Professor Larry, and over there is Anthony the Dev. What's going on, man?
Not much. Another
80?
weekend done, and we're 80
Yeah, another
episodes
weekend
in.
done. Yeah, crazy. How was your weekend?
Fine. Uneventful. We got some sun today, which
Nice.
means mostly working outside because it's the first sunny day we've had in 4 months. So
Yeah, I was listening to I was listening to the Major Nelson podcast, the Xbox podcast, and
yeah,
they were talking about how little sun Seattle has gotten in the
yeah.
past
Actually,
4 months.
probably in 4 months we've had 4 or 5 sunny days total.
That's
Like
crazy.
actually, we see sun, but I mean it's most days it's partly cloudy, overcast. It's been really rainy this year though, so.
Do you have like a UV light in your house or anything like that?
Nope, my vitamin E probably sucks right now.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm
But
pretty
you're
sure
not feeling
everyone up here has vitamin E deficiency.
but you're not feeling like the seasonal affective disorder issue.
I don't have that, but
Okay.
I do know people that do, and they have
Yeah.
UV lights and the whole thing.
Right. For
Um,
sure.
not to grow pot to help their mood.
Yeah. Right. Um, Speaking of pot, nope, I have no segue.
No segue.
Nope. I went listening to old episodes of our podcast today. I was running around the block doing some exercise, and I downloaded a couple, the first one that I ever did, which was terrible, and then the ones where we did earlier. And I just want to say that we have progressed, and I'm really happy about that.
That makes
Our
me happy too. I'd have a hard time going back and listening.
little rough. So really happy to have our audience here sticking with us. It's growing every week, and we're really happy and thankful for that.
Yeah, I think we're
This week,
figuring it out.
yeah, no, they're sticking with us. We've been doing this since October 2015, if you can believe that. So pretty crazy. So
Yeah.
thankful to everyone listening. This week we are going to talk about Project Scorpio, which is kind of the big news on the block. And we've got some BioWare, Mass Effect, Andromeda news, some Cyberpunk news, Diablo, Square, and then the games that we're playing, which this is the first week I've played something besides Breath of the Wild for most of my gaming time, which is odd.
Not me.
Feels
Not me.
weird, feels dirty. Yeah, you're still hip deep in Breath of the Wild. We'll get there for sure. But let's start with Project Scorpio and
Yeah.
what Microsoft needs to do for this to be a success. So I was hoping we could start real quick, just talking about the stuff about the specs that we heard.
Yeah.
So what do you know about Scorpio?
So it's it's a beefed up Xbox One for the most part. They went big in every number for the most part. 8 core CPU, 2.3 gigahertz. So it's good. That's uh, not top of the line by any means, but that's not for consoles where it matters. GPU though is just insane. 12 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM. So the PS4 has 8. Um, but then just huge amounts of memory bandwidth, just 6 teraflops of performance. Like this is not. This compares to PCs straight up.
Right,
Like this
pretty good
is
PC.
yeah. Uh, a 1 terabyte 2.5 inch hard drive and an Ultra HD Blu-ray player, a 4K Blu-ray player. Um, the same on I think Xbox One S
Yes, Xbox
has
same one,
the
same drive.
same drive. So
Yep.
and
There's a there's a couple of I was listening to the Major Nelson podcast this week, and two things that they mentioned that aren't in this Eurogamer article that we're kind of looking at right now, or it might be somewhere that I didn't see it. One is that with the DirectX 12, they were able to pull off some of the processes that the CPU usually does into the hardware somewhere. I'm not exactly sure how that works.
it's DX12. If they're going into DX12 stuff, you get that in Windows 10.
Hmm.
And there's been a lot of work. Apple did it as well with iOS. I think they called it Metal. Similar stuff where they're getting the APIs and like DirectX, those things are getting closer to the actual metal that is your graphics card in some ways.
Right.
There's less interpretation of the code. Like they get much more direct access to those GPUs. So they can
And
do stuff much faster. Um, all around just better performance.
Yeah, and the result is that the CPU can do other things, can use
the
power
CPU
to do other stuff.
Exactly. And you'll see this more. Like GPUs are just incredibly powerful, so they're very, very powerful in computation, like just crazy fast for computational operations. And so there's a whole lot of work in probably the past like decade that has gone into pushing more stuff to the GPU that isn't even rendering, but just mathematical computation, physics, things like that.
Right.
Which leaves the CPU open to do other things, which it's.
And I guess that makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense here because the CPU is 30% more powerful than the Xbox One, but the GPU is 4.6 times more powerful. So there's a lot more horsepower to play around with there. The other thing that they said on the podcast that I haven't seen mentioned here, I don't know what they call Hobson or something like that. Some guy on the team created this process where when these, like the Scorpio engine, like all the GPU, CPU, everything's coming out the assembly line, obviously there's a little bit of variation with each one. Like it's minute, but it's there. So his process was for the kind of like the brain power of this thing to dynamically scale so that it's able to take advantage of everything it has to offer in the hardware. And I'm explaining this poorly, but if you're like two different, I don't know, pieces came off the assembly line, one was a little bit less powerful, it would make up that power in some other way, which was interesting. And then if you wanted like an in-depth discussion of that, the Major Nelson podcast.
I'd have to listen to that. From a high-level standpoint, that just sounds like technobabble magic, even to someone who knows the stuff. Going like,
right.
But we'll see. I mean, yes, things come off the assembly line. They have how many they can yield and how many GPUs of this type at this manufacturing process they just have to throw away because they don't work well enough.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, something to go back and listen to because it was a bit over my head too. It just sounded cool. And yeah, that's kind of most of the specs, right? I think there's some things we're missing.
It has so it has 12 gigabytes of the GDDR5, but 4 gigabytes is reserved for the system.
Right. So the game
it has 8.
Right?
So that makes
which the Xbox One had 5, so that's a lot more, obviously.
Yeah, the Xbox One had a weird mix because they also had they had lower GDDR5, but then they had an ERAM, which was a more traditional console style from like the 360 had it, older consoles had it, where there was just like a smaller amount of really, really, really fast RAM. So you could program the games in a way that you would send the stuff that you needed like really fast to get processed to the screen and rendered through that really fast RAM, but you can only send a very small amount. So it was a choice you had to make on like what data you put where and which RAM you stored things in, basically where you put the data. So the PS4, when they switched over to just doing all GDDR5 RAM, that was because developers wanted that. They're like, no, this would be so much easier if you just made all the RAM fast.
Right.
So
the other thing that this thing does that the PS4 Pro doesn't do is the super sampling, where PS4 Pro, it does super sample some of the previous games to make them take advantage of the horsepower, whereas the Xbox One, the Scorpio, is going to make sure that every single game has some boost, basically, because of the power, if you don't have a 4K TV, basically.
Yeah. They're totally going to be doing all of that.
You get better frame rates, better FPS, I guess.
I look at this thing, and so the Pro is an incremental console.
Right.
This would basically is a new console.
Right.
I look at the specs, and I'm like, no, this is like, sorry for anyone who got an Xbox One originally. This is a new console. They might call it whatever the hell they want to call it, Xbox One 2, who knows. But I look at the specs, and it's like, yeah, it's completely compatible. It's just a PC architecture. It's going to use the same APIs, so all your games will run. But this is a new console.
Yeah, and the whole the narrative or the I don't know, the wording around it being backwards compatible. Yeah, your Xbox One games, you'll be able to play the same games on Xbox One or the Scorpio, kind of like you can play mini games on a really shitty PC or a really souped up one. Just change the settings. That seems like what they're looking at. But the thing to make it successful, I think there are two things that we should probably talk about. One is price, and two is games.
Yeah.
So price wise, Eurogamer at least is speculating 500.
I see that coming up
what about you?
lot online. With what's in there, 500 seems to be a kind of an expected price. But then there's that issue that any console that's launched over $400 has not done well. See the PS3, see the Xbox One.
Yeah.
So they have to know that. They have historical data themselves knowing that, like, yeah, it's hard to sell a $500 console. So the other way I'm thinking is they're just going to eat a huge loss on the console just to get back in the game.
Yeah, and it seems like Microsoft could.
I'm sure they could.
If they wanted to support Xbox in that way. I just don't know if they will.
Yeah. That's beyond the gaming side, the Xbox side of the company. Like, that would have to come down from central Microsoft. Be like, right. No, we're cool with this. You're going to lose how much on each console you sell? Okay.
I could see them going to lose 50. I could see it as low as 450, but I don't see it coming down any lower than that.
Yeah. And so they have to know, like, 500 is just a hard sell.
Right.
Like, it just is. Especially now, okay, we have PS4 at 300 and 400. So
I thought it was 250. Is it 300?
Is it 250?
Maybe that was just, maybe that was just Christmas sale.
It could
might have been a Christmas sale.
I haven't looked, honestly. I have one, so why?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But, I mean, the Pro is 400. Slim, I think, is 300. It might be 300 with a game, with Uncharted 4. Oh,
yeah, you're right, with Uncharted 4. That's probably right.
So, this thing comes out at 500. Yeah, it's really powerful. That's great. But for $200 less, I can get a PS4 if you don't already have one, and a game. Or now you're selling it directly to the very niche, like, I want the most powerful thing out there, which leads into games. So what are you gonna sell this to people with? Like, Sony is kicking ass right now with exclusives.
It's an unprecedented string of hits.
What did Persona 5 just come out?
Yep.
And it's just reviews off the chart. Like, my Twitter feed is full of people playing Persona 5 and loving it, and, like, high 90 Metacritic. Like, you're like, okay, another one.
Yeah, I mean, Gravity Rush 2 to Neo to Nier, Horizon, the Persona 5. It's insane. Like,
and it's not going to stop.
No, it's not. And if you project out, I guess, for the rest of the year, we've got the Uncharted Lost Legacy coming out. All of the, the big third party have the special arrangements with PS4 or Sony now. I would, depending on finances and whatever, like, I might be in the market to upgrade one of my consoles, because I want to take advantage of the 4K TV, right?
Yeah.
And the Xbox having a 4K drive is kind of enticing. Although most of the stuff I watch is streamed anyway, so it doesn't quite matter.
Exactly.
But, so what I'm looking at actually is not, I think in the first level it is, okay, Scorpio versus PS4 Pro. PS4 Pro will be a lot cheaper a year later, so I might go that direction considering that's the ecosystem I usually play in. But if it's not that discussion, then it's Scorpio versus Xbox One S, because the S also has the 4K drive and it's significantly cheaper.
Yep.
And I don't turn on my Xbox that much, and there are a bunch of games on there that I like, but when I think of franchises and I think of games that I really enjoy playing, not many of them are Xbox exclusives.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. What are they launch this fall that's gonna get people to Scorpio? Like, they don't have another Halo right now, and
Halo 5 came out in 2015.
I mean, I guess they could announce it in a few months and say, "Hey, it's out in the fall."
That seems really quick.
It does seem really quick, especially because I remember right. Halo 5 isn't like beloved thing, or was it?
The multiplayer, yeah, the campaign was hated.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like as a company, they have to. It probably would behoove them to take a little bit more time before cranking out another Halo.
Yeah. Forza and
Forza.
I know
Horizon.
Forza is strong. Well, Forza Horizon 3 just came out, but Forza Motorsport 7 I think it's 7 would be coming out. And I know that's popular, but
it's a racing game. I mean, it's not a console seller. Like, it's a console seller for a niche audience.
Right.
Just the same way Gran Turismo was. Like,
right.
There is a market that loves their real world racing games. But that's not your market selling 3-4 million copies like Horizon did. So
right, and I don't even know if Horizon would have sold a $500 console.
No, I can't think of much of any games that would sell a $500 console. Oh, no. Breath of the Wild, sure. And
well, I mean, it sold a $300 console,
and even then, at $500 would have been, well, I'm not going to buy the $500 console yet. But then I try Breath of the Wild and say, okay, I'll get it for that. But it's really hard to say. I'm like, oh, I want to buy a $500 console for X game.
I think that
Microsoft doesn't have a brand that sells me a $500 console.
Yeah, I agree. And I know there are people who have been in the ecosystem for such a long time that that's where they want to play. But with with the amount of exclusives, they don't really entice me. And the fact that the exclusives almost all are Xbox Play Anywhere anyways.
Yeah.
I can play most of them on my PC. Well, I guess I need to upgrade my GPU to do that. But I don't know. I think there are other options to play those games besides buying the $500 console. I mean, I could play it on my Xbox One, for example. So
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's nothing that's going to entice you to buy the Scorpio. No. And there's very little to entice me because those games, everything I have now, I can play on my Xbox One, and I don't see myself buying too much more for the Xbox One. If there's someone who says I want to play, Shadow of War on the best system, maybe I don't think that's a system seller either, and those people could play on their console, or a PC.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a smaller audience of people who do want the most badass console on the market, make the best looking picture they can and gorgeous, but that's usually not enough to sustain an entire console.
No,
like you have to have the mainstream come along.
What do you think they could say at E3 game wise that would get people? Is the biggest gun Halo 6?
That's the only thing I can think of. It doesn't have to be Halo 6. Another Halo game, like
okay. Like ODST or something.
ODST 2, something like that. Yeah. I mean, that might excite people, but I still have a hard time. I think the console would need to be $400 and have probably the most exciting thing that they could give you from their brands. And probably not one thing. You need a couple. Like, there's the other, what's the Rare thing coming out? The pirate game?
Oh, Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves probably could intrigue some people if that comes out and is really good.
I have a hard time seeing a new IP being a console seller like that.
Yeah, I usually don't lead that way. You need to use your standard, the stuff that you have. So, I don't feel like Gears of War has it. Unless they're doing some exclusives with third party that we don't know about, and they'll announce at E3. But even that's hard because I don't know if third party is going to be asking a lot of money to be exclusive.
Yeah, considering their install base is so much lower.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's gonna be a hard sell, and I do think they need to be $400.
Yeah, I agree.
Plus really strong, and plus a system seller piece of hardware, software. I mean,
like now that you said
E3. That's E3.
Right, and that feels super right. And there's no way that it can be that cheap, considering what's inside, unless they're really going to take a huge loss. And I can't see that. Speaking of loss, did you hear how much Nintendo is manufacturing the Switch for?
I saw it. Was it still under? It's like $260.
Exactly. So they're basically making like $40 profit off each system
Well,
at
I
this
don't.
point.
What do they? I want to know how much they're selling to into wholesale for.
Oh, I see.
Because I
So
mean,
it would be
they're not
below.
selling it for 300
Right.
to distributors. They're probably selling it at like 270,
Okay. So they're
275.
really not making much at all.
No, but they're not losing.
Right. And it's all software that they're going to make
Yeah,
money on anyway.
which is where they make money on consoles anyway. So
Yeah, right.
Nintendo just doesn't want to lose money on their hardware.
Right. So yeah, the Scorpio is, I mean, interesting in I don't know, watching some sort of sport unfold or something.
Yeah.
Like I'm just out of the two of us, I'm more invested in the Xbox ecosystem, and I'm not really that interested in the Scorpio. So we're not the best barometer, I suppose, but it is interesting to see how Microsoft tries to manage this, and I think they're doing a better job than the Xbox One team did when they initially launched the Xbox One. So
yeah,
that.
I know, I agree. And competition is good. So.
Absolutely, we absolutely need it because it makes everyone better. I mean, if there wasn't competition, if Sony wasn't trying to get like back in the saddle after the PS3 kind of, dark days of PS3, we wouldn't have what we have now. They invested in a ton of third parties and said we're doing not third party, like second party or first party stuff. We're going to do games only, and look what we've got. 2017 is like the proof that was a good strategy, I think.
Exactly. So I'll be waiting to see what Microsoft has to say at E3. So a few months, and then we can see what they give us.
Yeah, between Nintendo and Microsoft, this is going to be a pretty interesting E3.
I agree.
And that's not even counting the stuff that I really want to see, which is what Sony has to say. So, although Nintendo, I'm pretty excited about Nintendo's. I'm trying not to get excited, though, because if there's nothing, if it's just like Mario Odyssey, which is great, but if that's it, there's no Metroid, there's no Smash Brothers news, there's no Pokemon or Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like a missed.
I think that I think they will be showing some more stuff.
Yeah.
They'll probably lead with Mario. Like that's
Absolutely.
for sure. Like that will be their get all the limelight. But I can only imagine that they're going to tease or hint at other things coming because they want to keep that excitement going.
Yeah, and I hope that they continue with the indie thing, and I'll get to that. My feelings about their indie games later, but I think they started off on the right foot.
Yeah. With that, into some news.
Yeah, lead us into this news, man. Most of this is your expertise. So,
first one I came across, BioWare put out kind of a message on the Mass Effect Andromeda webpage going that they have a roadmap for how they're going to continue working on Andromeda and fixing problems that players are having. And they rolled out a patch the same day, which improved eyes. And I have watched a before and after comparison. The eyes do look much better.
After they fixed a huge difference.
They have depth.
Right.
Like the eyes were very flat before. Like they definitely did different shaders, different textures on the eyes, and it's like, oh, that looks a lot better. So reading through, I mean, they just fixed a bunch of bugs and stuff like that right off the bat. And then continuing on, they really want to, it sounds like they're going to rework, try to fix lip sync a lot more, go back and do those animations better. A lot of focus on animations and cleaning up the stuff that people are complaining about. General bugs, changing dialogue where people are having issues with male romance options.
Right. There's also an issue. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. That's fine.
There's another just a transgender issue as well.
Yeah.
The way that the character was portrayed, and they're going in to fix that maybe?
Yeah, they're just adjusting that a little bit. Mostly I've read kind of what it does, and it just feels a little too on the nose. Like, they're very... Like, I don't know what they say. They're basically, like, very clear about their being transgender. It comes across as, like, making a point of it when most people wouldn't make a point of it at all. Like,
right.
You would just understand and move on. So, it's not like I read it and go like, oh, this is, like, horrible. I can't believe they put it. It was mostly just like, your intentions were good, guys. this is just not how you go about it. So, um, so yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're just going to continue working on it, which has made some people angry because they're like, "Oh, great, it's an early access game," is what I've heard. Um,
Right, right. And it makes me think that this was the first game where I said, I bet you if I wait, it's going to be better when I play it in the fall.
yep.
And I'm pretty certain I might just wait for like the Game of the Year edition, or wait to the fall at least to play it, because I think a lot of the bad stuff will be patched out. Even though I think some of that quote unquote bad stuff was overblown, it will be a better experience regardless.
Yes.
When I get to it, and I don't know when are you planning to get to it after you finish Zelda?
I have a friend up here who got a physical copy on PS4.
Oh, nice.
And they're just going to let me have the physical copy when they're done with it. So
cool.
It'll be after Zelda, and
yeah,
we'll get to how much more Zelda I think I have in me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to that. Stay tuned, folks.
But yes, I have that, and then another friend of mine got a physical copy of Persona 5, which they're going to let me borrow when they're done. So
here goes our swear warning. You lucky motherfucker.
Yeah, I was like, awesome. I was putting Persona 5 as like, I will play this eventually kind of thing. Yeah. I've never played a Persona, so.
Oh, you haven't played 4?
Nope.
Okay.
Never touched a Persona, and don't really know a whole lot about it, except that it's kind of a high school simulator / RPG kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So whenever I see this thing getting huge review, I'm like, well, maybe this is a good one to try out. So yeah, they're just like, yep, getting it. You can have it when I'm done. So awesome.
Yeah, there's some, some of the buzz that I've heard. I mean, obviously, it's just like off the charts. People love it, like the best turn-based RPG in a long time. But basically, a lot of the things people liked about 4, they kind of not copied and pasted, but it's present in 5, so that if you play 5 and like it, you could go back to 4 and really like it as well. Although 5 is by all accounts better than 4, and 4 was beloved. So this is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I did know some people that had 4. It just was it's a series that has basically went under my radar forever. So
yeah.
So who knows? I'm excited to play that. So Andromeda will happen eventually, and it'll probably be a much better game when I do get around to it.
Absolutely.
Ideally, the performance will be better on console than it is. Like, they'll fix up some of the frame rate issues.
I am trained now to play Mass Effect on PC.
I would.
But you're getting it for free, so.
Yeah, basically. So I'm just
exactly.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Well, and the shooting's not the thing, so I could play it on the, I could play it on the console as well. I really just want to go back and play the original trilogy again in one place, so I might just go back and play them all in back compat. Because we're never going to get that collection.
Maybe not. It's got to happen at some point. You would think.
I hope so.
Because one, EA doesn't want this franchise to die, and it would be. The more I think about it, it would be a cheap-ish way to give something to Mass Effect fans to keep them excited between now and whenever the next major Mass Effect game is going to happen.
Right.
So I think it will happen eventually. But when? I don't know.
Okay.
A year? 2 years?
Well, for people who are looking forward to that new game coming out and can't wait and want to play some great games in the meantime, I do have a code for you for Steam. And this is for a game that Anthony quite liked. This is for Chroma Squad.
Thumbs up.
Want to give him a quick refresher on what Chroma Squad is?
It is a Power Rangers tactics game, basically, but done in a meta-narrative where you are a production company and controlling actors who are playing out effectively a Super Senpai Power Rangers episode. And it's a bizarre story that gets really weird and really meta, and you can tell it's made by people that love these TV shows. And for someone who watched some of the Twitch Power Rangers stream, did you watch any of that?
No, but I watched Power Rangers as a kid.
Oh my god. I watched like the first couple seasons. Well, it just was on the background on Twitch when I was working. Oh, it's horrible. It's so bad. I knew as a kid it was horrible.
Yeah.
But it's a special kind of like, wow. but still amusing. And so I feel like with the Power Rangers newer movie coming out and stuff, Chroma Scott is a nice homage tribute to that all of that cheesiness, but taken to a weird meta level of meta narrative on that kind of story.
So it's a quality free game for our audience.
It is a very good game. I was surprised on how good this game actually was.
Yeah. Well, the code for Chroma Squad on Steam, thanks to the Humble Freedom Bundle, is 5MT9BYYBB4N9HD2. And if you redeem it, hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Prof Plays Games. He is at SummerSpeak, and let us know that you got it. And, you're welcome. So the next piece of news is about Cyberpunk and this weird story about the...
Maybe we shouldn't say that anymore.
Oh, yeah, sorry. They might sue us.
Yeah.
We can trust them, right? Want to run us through the story since you're the Cyberpunk?
It was weird. I saw this first thing I saw this week on this was CD Projekt Red posting their Twitter, this picture on Twitter explaining like, oh God, don't hate us.
Right, exactly.
I know. So now reading, this is a Gizmodo article that basically said, explains what has happened. So CD Projekt Red is coming out with Cyberpunk 2077. They trademarked Cyberpunk though, which kind of somewhat makes sense.
Well, their explanation was something like, if we want to do a sequel in this world, we want to be able to have the power to do that. We're not going to go after people and attack them for using the word cyberpunk.
It basically would only be, it's not a patent, it's not a copyright, it's just a trademark. So it's trademarked for cyberpunk in a video game setting. So if a game came out and just wanted to call itself Cyberpunk, yeah, you can't do that. Which is probably for the best, because it's going to be hard to this is the thing. I don't think CD Projekt Red wants to fight this, really, because it's going to be a hard word for them to actually, uphold in court, since it's been used in a number of different ways. There's a person who did a music album named that was titled Cyberpunk. There have been older video games with Cyberpunk in the title, so it's not the easiest one. But I get where CD Projekt Red is like, no, we at least want this so that we can keep people from making Cyberpunk 3077.
Well, and if someone else comes out and trademarks Cyberpunk as a video game, then they are screwed. Yes. They couldn't use it. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's obnoxious legal ground, but
exactly,
they kind of have to take it on in some ways.
Yes, it's kind of like when Nintendo is striking people on YouTube for using their content or their music or whatever, and basically if you don't defend your trademark, if you don't defend your stuff, then that's precedent for later when you try to get to someone and they say, well, you didn't defend it earlier.
Yeah, you forfeit it.
Exactly.
We had to do this a lot at PopCap. There's a whole legal team that was took care of that, because it was just it's annoying, but that's how the U.S. legal system works for trademarks.
You gotta play the game.
And I hope CD Projekt Red is nice with this and don't go after people there was the guy who had Edge Entertainment who sued everyone that used Edge in their name.
Oh my God.
I could go find this. It was amazing. But he sued Mirror's Edge.
And
he made a game called Mirrors by Edge Entertainment.
I see.
And I tried to sue them.
Yeah.
He did this a ton of games. If you find a game that had Edge in the title somewhere, he would make a game that would be the first part of its name or the last part of the name, and then say an Edge Entertainment product. So,
that was the person's whole career is just
that was his whole career. Oh, he got, once that came out, he was doing that. He got litigated into the ground. Orbital bombardment litigation against him of I don't think he does this anymore because I think he lost all his money.
That's the interesting thing about that whole game is that even if you're right, someone else with more money can just litigate you out of the whole arena because they can afford those lawyers' fees and bring it. So, I like this graph, and this article is from Gizmodo, and it's by Rhett Jones. This graph that says it's a little bit ironic that the name of a genre that's so focused on the free flow of information, rejection of ownership, and never trusting corporations is now a legally protected trademark of a corporation that insists trust us. Yeah,
it's fitting. It's
it
fitting.
is.
It fits the world we're living in right now. So,
absolutely.
It was just crazy to see this earlier in the week, watching CD Projekt Red fight off all this, going like, "Sorry guys, don't hate us."
Yeah, and I appreciate them coming out and very clearly explaining like this is just the rules of the game. This is what we got to do.
And so, on Reddit, where I was reading about it a little bit later, like most people on there seem to be like the comments that had floated to the top were people being like, "Yeah, they have to do this, guys."
Right.
So it might suck, but don't call your game something just straight cyberpunk. Like, name it something else.
Right. Punk Cyber.
Punk Cyber. I mean, you can put something. What is it? Everything has a punk. I mean, we have steampunk. I've read biopunk. Is one I've heard. What else have I heard?
Biopunk.
Biopunk. It was a novel you didn't like. What is it? I can't remember. You didn't like the novel. I know you read it. You didn't like it. It was like the.
Oh God.
Thailand.
Yes, I know exactly.
That was listed as the author didn't do this, but the publisher called it biopunk.
Paolo Bacupli or whatever.
Yeah.
The Wind Up Girl.
Yeah.
God, that book was terrible. Sorry, folks. Just don't.
We can disagree on that. I enjoyed it.
Ugh. God, you have no taste. Just kidding.
I don't.
But something that you do like is seasons in Diablo 3, and now you get to do them on console.
I know.
Have you tried yet?
I have not, because I've been playing another game.
That's true. I forgot. Duh.
But this is definitely one thing where I'm like, I can't wait to do this on the console. So, Diablo 3, Season 10 is now not just on PCs, is on consoles. And so you got all your normal patches too, like whatever patch associated with this that did a bunch of quality of life stuff. I think you had equipment sets now. Like there's you can save equipment sets at in town and just quickly.
Oh, thank God!
Switch between
put, like, every piece on.
Yeah, now you can quickly switch between sets.
Awesome.
And save sets, and yeah. I think they had stuff stacked bigger as well. Yeah, 2.5 was the patch. Armor, they had an armory, and then they had crafting mat storage, so that the crafting mats are stored on a separate tab now, so they're not in your inventory anymore. So, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to get to try this out.
Well, we should do it together now that we can do a season on console.
Oh my God, that's awesome. We should do that, and we should stream it.
We can.
Yeah, that sounds great. That's a good idea. We'll have to figure out how to do that. Or not how, but when.
When, yes.
Yeah, a good idea. Excellent.
But it's finally here. Console now has everything that PC has.
Great.
And I feel like playing Diablo 3 on console is just a better experience.
Yeah, just somehow, which is surprising to me because I never thought it would translate to the gamepad, but they did such a good job.
Oh, they nailed it.
Adapting it.
Yeah. They did so many subtle changes. One of the things I didn't notice until much later is they changed the camera angle.
They
slightly.
Did?
Yeah, like you look at the cameras, maybe not all the time, but the camera does some stuff on the console it doesn't do on the PC. Like how they angle it for certain fights and different bosses, so that it works better with a controller. Yeah, they definitely went through and with more of an eye for detail than just like just make sure the controls work on a controller.
Right.
So, yeah. So I think this happened actually last week before last.
The 31st is when it launched.
Okay.
But the news came out from the middle of last month when we were hip deep in Zelda and kind of talking about that nonstop. So
I really wanted to bring this forward because I'm going to be playing this.
Awesome. Well, let me know and we'll do it together.
Yeah. Well, what class would you want to play?
One of the ones that I don't have level 70, which is half of them. I have never played. Run through the classes.
Crusader, Monk,
Yeah, I haven't done
Witch
Monk.
Doctor, Wizard.
I haven't done Witch Doctor. And I haven't done Wizard.
Barbarian.
I've got one of those.
And crossbow person.
Oh, yeah.
Not a ranger. Ranger is not the term they use. Demon hunter. Demon hunter?
Oh, yeah, I don't think I've done Demon Hunter either. Yeah, so basically most of those. I think actually I did a Monk.
I've done all of them, so.
Yeah, okay. Then I'll choose which one.
I've done a lot of them multiple times if you take what I've done on PC and console together. So.
Right. I'll probably go through with Demon Hunter because I haven't even touched that one yet.
Okay.
So I'm trying to eventually get that trophy for the 70 for all characters.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So cool. Last piece of news was there's some excitement this week about Square Enix saying, yeah, we're really excited about Switch and we're going to put a lot of games on Switch. And there's that, what's that one that they put in the Switch reveal, that kind of like cardboard looking RPG?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I forget what it's called. Traveler.
There's a picture of it right
here. Octopath Traveler or something like that.
Yeah. Which does look really cool. The one thing, the link that you said that got me was they talk about coming up with games that use the Switch's unique capabilities. I'm like, no, people don't want unique games on the Switch from you guys. Just give us the next Final Fantasy, the next big Square Enix game.
Right.
Stop. I don't want a Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. I don't want a side thing. Just give me the normal games.
Right. This quote from them says, our developers with a strong interest in the Switch are eager to challenge themselves to find new ways for people to play games. Yep. But Nintendo creates a variety of new gameplay possibilities. I think other companies will come up with surprising gimmicks using the Switch's unique capabilities. We have our own way of doing things. So we'll be marrying the Switch's unique features for the kinds of games we're known for.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, don't.
Just give us what everyone else is getting.
Yeah, kind of.
I wonder if they'll ever do another Final Fantasy that's in the style of 6.
Like a 2D?
Yeah.
No. Well, no. I'm not going to say no, but probably not. The closest you're going to get to that is the Bravely Default games.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's still 3D, but they're totally are Final Fantasy VI spiritual successors. They feel like more older traditional Super Nintendo style RPGs.
Right.
So actually wouldn't be. I'm wondering if we'll get another Bravely Default on the Switch.
Yeah, shift the special quote unquote games they're making for 3DS and just put them on the Switch. Which
yeah, I can see that.
It's still fine. I mean, I would love to play one of those over there on the Switch, my new shiny machine.
Yeah. So it is nice to know that they are taking it seriously, though. So we will see. I guess this would be something that you hope to see out of E3.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see some more info about here's some games that we're bringing to the Switch. Go.
Well, and if they're this forward with the comments right now, they know what they want to talk about, and there should be something at E3.
Yeah,
I would assume at least. Square has, I guess it's the Tokyo RPG Factory, which is being published by Square, but the I Am Setsuna, which was out on a bunch of other consoles, but it launched on Switch too. That was their day and date with the launch, so
yeah,
maybe we'll see more of that.
I'm hoping. I feel like the games that they make, especially older, if they wanted to bring in older stuff, maybe they'll do the Final Fantasies 1 through 9. If that actually ends up happening this year.
Right.
If that's going to happen this year, I expect we hear about that on E3.
Yeah. I hope it does. I think that's a great place to. I mean, obviously, any console people would be happy to have it, but the Switch just seems like such a great place to bring a lot of those old games that people are excited about playing that you could just play anywhere.
Yeah.
It just people would buy it twice. They would buy it for their PS4, they would buy it for their Switch. I don't know. It just seems like a no-brainer to me. So.
Yeah. The more I think about that, it might not happen because there might be some legal issues.
with Sony. And
7, yeah,
7.
7 for sure, because 7
Mm-hmm.
was published by Sony,
Right.
and I don't know if that's reverted back to Square at this point in time.
But it was on the PC.
Only on the PC. It's
Yeah.
never been on anything else.
Right.
So, yeah, that will be a question if Sony still has some say in where it can be.
Mm-hmm.
If Square can do it, they'll find a way. They want to milk those games. They want that money. So,
Yeah, I mean, and there's a huge, not huge, but potentially big market on the Switch for people to at least double dip, if not buy it for the only time. So
yeah, no, I agree. So, yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, very exciting times. That takes us to the end of our news section, which means we get to talk about what we've been playing, and I cannot wait to hear about all of your experiences in Breath of the Wild. So I'm gonna have you go first.
Okay. So what have I done? I haven't beat it yet.
Oh, just a note for everybody. Spoilers for Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
So I'm gonna talk about a couple of games I've been playing. Has Been Heroes. What's the other one? Graceful Explosion Machine and Breath of the Wild. So just if you click off now because of Breath of the Wild spoilers, I know Has Been Heroes has a 49 on Metacritic and the reviews were terrible. Try it out. Like, it's a thinking person's game. It's like chess. Like, it's not as luck based as everyone said. It's really, really good. So if you click off now because of spoilers, just at least remember that. Okay? Thank you. All right. So now spoil away, man.
All right. So what I do? I finished the Gerudo Divine Beast.
That was the last one, right?
That was my last one. So I've done all 4. I did this before that, the stealth section that you were swearing about when I was down there playing it with you.
Oh my god!
But
that's because I was a moron.
I finished that one pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What were you doing wrong? What didn't you do?
So I just kept dying at the initial part because when I would like drop the bananas for them to come get it or whatever, and then I can sneak past them. Once I did that to the first guy, I got to the second guy, and at like 10 times I didn't realize that there was something on the wall that I could hit, and the banana would just fall down, and he would walk forward toward it. So I kept throwing the banana, and by the time I threw the banana, the other guy was back, and he saw me, and I kept getting caught right there in like the simplest part of the entire thing. And then once I got to the part where you're crawling through the rafters,
yeah,
I would drop the bananas for the guy next to the door, but I dropped it in the wrong place several times, and I got caught again when I jumped down, and then I jumped down where he saw me. I was not doing the stealth part the way that I should have been. I wasn't really catching what the game wanted me to do, and I was making my own path, and that was an area where I couldn't really do my own way. Which I guess is where the friction was for me, because everywhere else I can kind of like do a bunch of different ways, but that one's felt more linear, like there was a certain way to do it.
So yeah, I made it through there. Did the Divine Beast. I will say that was probably the hardest Divine Beast.
Yeah.
Took me a little bit to figure out, like I said, I think I told you, how to get up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did all the things in the center, that was fine. But then it was, how do I get into the camel's humps, basically?
Right, so getting the head and the neck to like go 90 degrees up, basically.
Which I could do the head getting it 90 degrees up. That was fine.
Mm-hmm.
I figured that.
Okay.
But it was figuring out how to get the back, get out there, and get up where I could destroy the corruption so I could get inside. It was It was finding the way where I needed to destroy the corruption was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But figured that out, got up there, did that. I also felt it was the hardest blight fight out of all of them.
Interesting.
I had a hell of a time with that one. Like I got with the lightning blight fight.
Yeah. That's interesting because, as we all know, it was the first one I did, and I found the whole beast kind of difficult. And even the stealth section leading up to it. But then when the blight, I beat him the first try. Like, It wasn't even hard. And I don't know why. I was like, okay. And that was the hardest one because the rest of the blights were easier, really. I didn't die a single time at any blight. Ganon Wind Blight or whatever.
I did not die to him, but man, I lost a lot of life.
Mm-hmm.
I went in with a lot of full recovery stuff.
Right.
So I was okay and had Mipha's Graves and things like that. So I was okay, but I was like, oh my god, I'm getting wrecked. Just
Yeah.
um
Yeah, I didn't even have Mipha's Grace at that point. I didn't have that
no.
till later. So I had nothing except for, I could eat meals or whatever. But
Yeah. So I mean, I did that, and so now I've got all the Divine Beast, and then what have I done since then? Mostly finishing out side quests. I finished Tarrytown, like did the whole thing, and it's totally worth it. That was a fun one to finish.
Is the ending of it where you get the guy to repair like the Hylian shield, or is there more to it?
Well, there's a whole. That's actually never even said that he's there.
Oh, okay.
He just shows up. Like you don't have to build a house for this guy. You're just wandering around town. And you're like, hey, there's a dude up on like a balcony.
Right.
And you go talk to him, and yeah, he has some clothes, and he would repair the Hylian shield if it ever breaks.
So he has clothes, like things you can buy?
Yeah, it's all crap. Like it's like starter stuff. Like not even armor. It's really funny.
Oh, that's weird.
But yeah, like I have the shield, it's fine. I can't buy it, so there's that. But the actual end is a different thing, and it just feels good. You like have built this whole town. There's different vendors there.
Awesome.
You can buy things from.
I should get back in there and do that then.
What else have I? So there, I started doing my memory hunting. I think I'm up to 7 memories found, so I have 5 more to go. So working through those, but while doing that, I realized I'd never been up to Lenaru Mountain.
Really? Oh, so go after the dragon? Or
I fought that dragon, or didn't fight it, but destroyed the corruption off of it, and went into the Shrine of Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Did all that, got the scale.
Right.
Did all this stuff behind that one. I actually went up there because I thought there was going to be a memory up there.
Oh.
There's not a memory that far up.
Nope, it's in the gate to the west of it. Yeah.
Yeah, which I've already got. I just thought there was one at the top.
Oh. Okay.
But again, this game keeps throwing things at me because I just thought I was going up to another shrine up there. And no, there's this crazy corrupted dragon. And
that was one of my favorite things of the game, actually, where you're kind of flying through the air trying to get all this stuff off of him.
Yeah.
And I was chasing him all around through the air, like just flying around. I loved it. It was such a good shrine quest.
I had a great one. That was fun. And then, so I did that. And then from there, I noticed that there was an island off to the east of that mountain. And so I just jumped off the mountain and glided down to this other island. There was a couple Korok seeds there, small things. But from there, then jumped back onto land and kind of started going up the eastern side of the Zora map, which I hadn't gotten to before. Mm-hmm. Zora Zone, and then into Akala above it, like just this very eastern, very, very eastern side of it. I found a couple more shrines, random puzzle things there. Like, I can't just talk about the number of random things I found. Just the game just keeps throwing me things. Always.
It's amazing when you float to that random island or you go to this random place, and in other games there's nothing there because the designers said that the main stuff is somewhere else. But this game, there's something everywhere. It's either a Korok seed or a shrine or some interesting person to talk to.
A puzzle to get into a shrine.
Yeah,
I came across a bunch of those that were just like, oh, this is there's something to this. And you're like, there's something about guiding wind I had to do.
Oh.
So like you're guiding on wind and blowing up rock structures with bombs so you can unleash all the wind to a certain point and then jump off a high mountain and catch the stream and then come down right on top of a shrine platform to make a shrine of like it was crazy. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's going to do something. And I got a shrine.
Did you find the woman on the beast cradling the the old ancient ball where it's right next to where you're supposed to, the cradle for the ball where you would, open the shrine basically?
No.
And she won't give it to you unless you give her pictures of guardians. She has to go take pictures of flying guardians, walking guardians, little guardian scouts. Then you bring it back and she loves the picture so much she gives you the ball. And that's the whole shrine quest.
Okay. Where's
super
that
rad. It's southern, like central southern,
Okay.
sandy beach. Basically, if you go to Farron Tower
Okay.
and then just fly southeast at like a fly toward like 4 o'clock on the clock,
Okay.
and then you will hit it.
All
And she's
right.
just right on the beach, and she's surrounded by dead guardians, and she wants to see live guardians. It's pretty rad, and it's just so different than everything else. Like I was done with the game by then. That's not true. I had found her, and then I need to go take pictures. So as I was taking pictures of guardians and doing memories at the same time, I just wandered into the sanctum in Hyrule Castle, and there was Ganon. And then okay, well I guess I'm doing the end of the game now. So after I beat the game, I went back and then did that quest, got the shrine, got the other two memories, and went back and beat Ganon again, and then got the real ending.
Interesting. So the ending's different if you have all the memories?
So the ending isn't, but then the post credits, there's nothing if you don't have all the memories, and if you do have the memories, you have something, and the something is, I think, pretty important. So,
okay, I'm gonna do all the memories. I want all of them, but this game, I'm like, I don't know when I'm gonna be done with it, because every time I sit down to play it, I just find things to do.
Yeah,
I still do. Like I'm gonna go over here and do that. Like, it just is like. There's always something for me to find to do there. Right. As simple as like, and it usually starts with going like, well, I have a stamp for, I know there's a shrine up there. I'm going to go to that shrine. It's a little bit of walk. And as I walk, I find all sorts of things.
What armor are you wearing?
Depends on where I'm at. Usually the Hylian armor.
Yeah, right.
But I have the like Rito cold resistance that I'm currently wearing because I'm in a cold area.
Right.
I keep a lot of armor on me, depending on what I need.
Yeah.
And I want to upgrade most of it as well. So.
Have you found all the fairy fountains?
I don't think so. I don't even know how many there are.
I think there are 4.
I've only found 2.
Yeah, me too. We found the initial one we both found, and then that easy one that if you look down from the tower, it's just sitting right there.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm pretty sure if I just wander around and like talk to people at stables and in towns, I'd find the other fairy fountains.
Oh yeah, that's probably
because
true.
I actually the second one that we found on the from you can see from the tower.
Mm-hmm.
I found an NPC that was asking to find that one.
Oh really?
Yeah, and they were like, okay, there's one. Supposedly, if you go up to the tower and look this direction, you should be able to see it.
So they told you that?
They told you where to go to look for it, and they just wanted you to. And then I had already completed it, so I could complete their quest saying, like, yeah, I've seen it. Here's where it is and everything.
I love that.
So, I mean...
If you've already done it.
Yeah, but
they let you complete it.
A ton. I've now come to the conclusion just going to town, going around stables, talking to people. The game will tell you where almost everything is.
Right.
So, like, that's how I find memories now. Just go find the person that's drawing pictures.
Right.
Painting at a stable. You know that there's a memory close.
I love how they did his hair. His top knot is a paintbrush.
Yep. It's so very good.
So good. How many shrines do you think you have?
I actually looked. I'm at 58.
Okay. We're about the same. I'm about 54, I think.
I actually have 8 orbs to go turn into to things right now.
Because at a certain point, you don't need to turn them in like immediately because you're powered up enough. Pretty much.
Yeah. So I just got to figure out what I want. If I want hearts or if I want stamina. Probably more stamina. Although I'm finding that stamina is not really an issue anymore either. So
once I had 2 full wheels, I didn't find the stamina was much of an issue, especially with the armor sets. But also I don't find hearts are much of an issue either because I just cook durian to make with meat and make like plus 14 hearts. So I always have 40 hearts anyways. So the game's easy in that regard as opposed to previous Zeldas where hearts were a little more harder to come by. But yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm still in love with this game. So in love with this game. And my kids love watching me play. So
yeah. Do you feel? Have you looked at the hour count? How many hours you played on it?
No, I should go check that.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, how many hours do you think you have left in you to play this game before moving on to something else? Like another 2 weeks, another week. What do you think?
Week or two, probably 20, 25 hours.
Cool.
Seems to be where I'm probably thinking in my head.
Yeah, right. And then you'll just do it by beating Ganon at the
Yeah,
end.
I'm going to do all the memories. But the thing is getting the memories, I just do side stuff along the way. So
yeah.
You're like, oh, if I went just hardcore, just focused on getting all the memories, I could probably beat it in a couple nights. But I know I'm not going to be that focused.
Right.
I'm going to go like, oh, there's a memory over here somewhere, and look at all the random stuff I did, and these new shrines I found, and things I found on my way to get this memory, which I don't mind. I actually enjoy that quite a bit. Like, this game is all about the journey. I love the journey. I love
Absolutely.
it so much.
Oh, and it really is, because the destination, I mean, once you beat the Divine Beasts, Ganon is a push-up. Ganon's easy. Like, I had no problem with Ganon.
I figured it's not going to be that hard.
It's not. Like, the speedrunners have more trouble with Ganon.
No, I can totally see that.
Yeah, that you saw watching the speedrun. So
if this is the thing, and I don't care about spoilers here. So if you've done the Divine Beast, I saw the speedrun, and you had they fought like multiple Ganons, like different stages. Does it wipe out that stage for each beast?
Yep.
That's what I thought was happening. I was like, I'm pretty sure the speedrunner I saw fought all of these in the Sanctuary.
Yep. Because if you don't beat Windblight Ganon and whatever the other,
you have to fight it there.
You fight him there. So when you do beat him, then the Divine Beasts shoot their laser down into the sanctum where you are and take off half of Ganon's health. So you start to fight with halfway through the fight, basically.
That makes a lot of sense. That's what I was expecting to happen.
Yeah, so it makes it easier, and it's not that hard. I mean, your main mechanic with him is something that you do with Guardians to beat Guardians, so it's not. And then you come out and face him when he's the big guy. You saw that in the speedrun, right?
Yeah.
Zelda gives you the bow, and it's just about aiming. It's easy, and maneuvering the fucking horse. Which the cool thing about the horse, I won't tell you what. Okay, there's something cool about the horse, but I won't tell you what it is.
Okay.
It's a small nod. Which made me wish I had written Epona more. I have Epona, I just never ride her. So, anyway, I found a shrine that was infuriating somewhere in the south. So you have a ball on a platform, and then there's another platform out in the distance, surrounded by nothing. In the middle of the platform is a hole. So you have to freeze the ball with stasis.
I know which one you're talking about.
Oh
it's
my
mini
God,
golf.
Yeah, it's mini golf.
I finished the main one. I did not do the
secondary one.
The second one, which I've read spoilers on how you do the go.
Dude, I looked it up. I was like, fuck it. I did it took me forever to do the first one. I saw the second one. I was like, I have to do it because I want the chest. But I tried it a couple times. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna look it up. Oh, okay, so it's 3.5. Like, I would never have figured that out. So I did it. Even when you have it, you still have to like aim it properly.
Yeah. Which is the
and then
hardest part.
And then all my stuff was breaking.
Yep.
So I hit it 3 times. I had done it so many times that I had broken both sledgehammers that were in there. So I pulled out I had a stone crusher that was blinking red, almost broken. I hit it 3 times. On the third time it broke. I switched to a different weapon really quickly, hit it one more time, and it just happened to work.
What I looked up was either 11 or 12 times with a one-handed sword.
Oh, okay. So what I saw was 3 times with the sledgehammer and then 1 time with a regular sword.
Which is probably what...
It works out the same, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with aiming, though, no.
Aiming
was so freaking annoying.
It was. And that was like that was an issue with like the camera and the hardware and not so much me. So that was a little frustrating. I mean, I spent 30 minutes in that shrine. And I really hated it. I mean, it was kind of a cool concept, but no, please.
Execution was not the best.
It was not. No, it was not. But I'm glad we both found that one.
Yes. My friend Carl, that was one of his early shrines that he went to.
Oh God.
And I think that infuriated him
so
much.
That maze one was one of the first ones that I found. I was like, "What? Oh God, I hope they're not all like this."
Oh right, yeah.
So yeah, I did all the memories. And there's actually an article on Feminist Frequency this week about Zelda and kind of like the damsel in distress trope and whatever. And they kind of attacked it from the angle that she kind of is the damsel again. And then a lot of people on their Facebook, a lot of women were actually like, no, I don't really agree with that in this game. You know, it could have been better, but she's a lot stronger and she's, you know, planning the war and all this stuff.
Her arc is a little bit different.
It is. But it got my wife talking about it. She sent me the article and it said, are you and Anthony talking about this weekend? I was like, well, probably. But she was like, I'd like to know more about this. So I showed her some of the memories. Like, look what Zelda's doing. Look how she's involved. And, you know, it's kind of cool to get her interested in seeing some of that. And then I showed her like 3 or 4 and I was going to show her another one. She's like, I'm good. That's enough. So, but it's cool.
She's not. I've been watching it from that perspective of like their take on it this time. And it's different. It's not the typical damsel in distress thing. Like, she's not even so much in distress so much. She's the one freaking fighting.
Yeah, she's the one that planned everything, and she's the one that's holding him at bay for 100 years. And she's not exactly captured by him like Princess Peach is with Bowser. You know?
She's not. Yeah, she's not captured. She is sacrificing herself.
Right.
Because, and then there's the whole arc. I was like reading kind of into like the thoughts of like her feeling inadequate. Like, there's a lot you can take there of like when you want to put it towards like femininity and the whole thing, and going like there's so much expectations of her, and she can't meet them. Like, you're looking at the memories of her, like she just cannot find the power. Like, she's going to these shrines, and everyone's told her all her life this is how it's going to be, and it's not.
Right.
I feel like there's some parallels there to kind of subtext to modern culturalism and what's expected out of women.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of thing. Like they're not being shy about it. They're just like, they're kind of talking about that through this character.
Well, I find it refreshing. I know that it could have been a lot more powerful, but considering how Japanese culture might be a little more conservative in this area, I feel like it was a pretty big stride forward. It could be better, but I'm hoping that fall DLC story has something to do with her. I don't know. You know, because she's such a powerful character in this game, but also other games in terms of Sheik and
exactly.
You know,
like
there's a lot to her. So
yeah, and I think they combine at the end to really make it a point that, who knows if it ends this way or not, that to truly defeat Ganon, you need both Zelda and Link. Like, it is not one. Link's not the only one defeating him. Like, it's a requirement that these two people working together defeat the darkness.
And that's the thing that I've always liked about this story. I mean, it was true. I mean, you know, when I beat Wind Waker, it really hit home. Like, you have to have both. If Zelda wasn't there fighting alongside of you, you don't beat Ganon. It's not, you're not saving her. She is just as powerful as you are.
Yep.
But it's, you know, it's definitely because you play as Link. He's the more central character. But
he's also the silent protagonist. So they always give Zelda a voice.
Yep.
And they never give Link a voice. Do they ever really? I guess some of the later, like, does Twilight? No, not even really Twilight Princess. Like, that's just the thing. Link is your, silent protagonist, Gordon Freeman from Half-Life. Like, no, they're just the audience.
He's the link between you and the story.
Exactly. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's the reason why that name was there in the first place.
I'm pretty sure that they said that's why.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense, and they always wanted to give Zelda a personality.
Right. Oh, and she has one. I know some people were kind of not happy with the story of this game, but I really loved how they told the story through those memories.
I think people wanted something grander, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not a grand, like, if anything, they've stripped away a lot of the excess of the stories that they've added to it and been like, no, we're going back to a more Link Zelda defeat Ganon.
Yeah. Like, it was very subdued, but I thought it was, I loved how it showed and didn't tell so much.
It did.
Have you got the memory in Hyrule Castle yet?
Not in the castle. Okay. Is there one inside of it?
No, it's in her study. The one on the parapet on the way to her study.
No, I haven't got that one. The closest I've come is the one where she's knighting Link
Oh yeah. That's the north west of that, the tree looking at the castle, basically.
Okay. No,
Yeah. No, there's one in the castle where if you, I mean, I don't know if you want me to tell you where it's at or how to get there, but
It's fine. I mean, I'm gonna go explore the castle here at some point,
okay.
probably. But it's definitely one. Is that one you were searching for, and then
That was one I was searching for, and then just
beat
after
the game?
yeah, exactly. So I just kind of stumbled around the corner, walked in the sanctum, and it was Ganon. I was like, well, okay, here we go. But there's an easy way to get into the castle. Once you know where that easy way is, it's a lot easier to kind of get to the top.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I don't know if you want to know that or not.
Not right now, but
okay. Yeah.
I'll ask you if I get annoyed.
Yeah, if you need it. Yeah. So that was I beat Breath of the Wild on the plane. No, that's not true. I beat it at the conference. I played it on the plane, but I didn't beat it on the plane. I was doing shrine quests.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then anything else from Breath of the Wild from you?
I don't think so right now.
Okay. Well, I also have played, and I played the most this week, Has Been Heroes, which is a game by Frozen Byte, who did Shrine.
Yep.
This came out last on the 28th, I think, and it was a game that reviewed poorly. I think its Metacritic is 49 right now. I'm not sure if it's that low, but something around there. And a lot of the people didn't like it. A lot of the reviews that I read were talking about how it was, if you lose, it's luck and you don't really have any control over how well you do. And just a lot based on not really knowing the mechanics, it seemed to me. I've never really been too critical of reviews because I think everyone has their own experience. But this is the first game that I've seen something in reviews, and having played it myself made me think, I don't think the reviewers took enough time with this game. I don't know if they were trying to meet deadlines or something like that, or it just didn't click. But this game really doesn't have any tutorial. It doesn't tell you how the mechanics work at all. But it really is a game that comes across like chess to me, where you are planning out like 6-7 moves ahead, and you have to be very exact, because if you make a mistake, that mistake reverberates across the next 20 moves, basically. So the premise is you have it's a lane-based, you had mentioned it as Plants vs. Zombie RPG roguelike.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what it is. It's almost like a tower defense. You have these people that you're trying to protect. You're taking them to school, and you're trying to save them from the enemies. And you have 3 characters, each with different abilities, and you're trying to fend off these waves of enemies. You either beat them all or survive until the end of the time. And you have stamina. So every time you get hit, it takes away 1 stamina. And once your stamina is gone, then you start taking hits and losing health. And you lose health pretty quickly. And then 1 character dies, you wipe. You're done.
Yeah,
so that run
I've
is
heard
over.
that.
And it's a roguelike. And I've played quite a few roguelikes. Spelunky. Oh my God. Binding of Isaac. What's the one that we both played? Rogue Legacy.
Yep.
Never clicked. Didn't really like them. And this is the first one I played where I actually understand the genre now, where the more that you play, like, you're supposed to fail, because when you fail, you unlock new stuff. And then that stuff, you have a chance to have it in your next run, which makes your next run stronger. And you kind of get into a place where if you get the right unlocks and if the RNG goes in your favor, basically, you get this pretty epic run. And once I started understanding the mechanics where the enemies have stamina too, and if you hit the enemy, it's like if your character has 2 attacks.
Yeah, I read about this, and it made a lot of sense. I was like,
yeah,
man, if they don't actually explain that.
They don't.
Wow.
They don't. And I think this is why the reviewers reviewed it so low, because they don't explain. I played the first 2.5 hours. Like, it was hard as nails, and I wasn't getting through some of the easier fights because I didn't understand the system, where if you attack and then the timer goes, then you can attack again when the timer is up. But you have like one character has 1 attack, one character has 2, one character has 3. So if the enemy has 2 stamina and your character has 3 attack, you are hitting 1 over their stamina, and you're not really doing much damage. So you have to match your attacks with their stamina. So if I have 2 attack, 2 stamina, I take away the enemy's stamina, they stun, and then I swap lanes and bring a different character in, and then you hit them for massive damage, and you take away 1 of their stamina. So the goal is to whittle away people's stamina, and you're managing these 3 lanes, managing how many attacks you have versus how much stamina. using some of your powers. Like there's so much going on that when you finally get it, it's the first time. I know people will say like it was difficult and finally it just clicked and I got it. Like this was the first game that's ever happened to me where like everything made sense and it was just so clear, and it's just the stuff that was so hard early on is just a cakewalk now because I finally get it. And shout out to this guy I met on Twitter. He has a website called maniacgaming.blogspot.com, which is MAMEIAC gaming.blogspot.com. He has basically a guide for a lot of the bosses and how to play Has-Been Heroes, because he kind of saw that same thing where there was no clear explanation of how to do this, and then not a lot of people are playing this game, so there's not a lot of walkthroughs online. So he's basically making one for this game to help people appreciate it, because once you get the system, like it just it feels so freaking good. Like it is like chess times 10. It just, maybe that's a little bit too grand, maybe times 5. It's really good, and it's the first, maybe, I don't know, I think there are some games where like critics hate it and then people like it, and I don't know, this is the first game where it's been like the pretty panned, and it's one of my favorite games that I played this year. Obviously Breath of the Wild's number 1, but this is top 10.
There was how I read that, there's a Kotaku article, I believe, that explained the mechanics.
Yeah, Totillo is going through.
Yeah, he's basically like, and it was like not a review. They were just like, hey, if you're playing this game, here's some info on like how to actually be successful while playing it.
Right.
And they explained the mechanics. I'm like, once that was explained, I'm like, oh, that's simple enough. Like, I watched a video. I was like, I get it. I get what's going on. Like, the fact that they don't explain that kills me.
Well,
but I get. I mean, I get where studios come from. Like, I'm in the middle with Space Tyrant right now. Like, we are in the land of trying to figure out how tutorialized we want to make the game, which for most developers is less tutorials the better.
Right.
But you got to explain some stuff.
Yep.
And it's a balancing act, and it's a really hard balancing act to hit on a complex game. Like the game I'm making right now it's a strategy game. So even a lighter strategy game, there's a lot of stuff going on. And so you're like, well, how much do you want expect the players to meet you? And where do you want to meet the players? Like, where's that line? And when I read these reviews and stuff, I definitely feel like Frozen Byte just chose the thing of like, nope, this is the line. You have to understand this to play it. And we're not going to explain it to you. You figure it out.
That's right. And I appreciate not being treated like, someone who can't figure it out. I think that they really hurt themselves because people are staying away from the game because of the reviews. And they reacted to it. Their first patch, like I played all this stuff. I didn't have Wi-Fi on my trip. Yeah. So I was playing like the hardest version of the game. The first patch made some quality of life improvements. Specifically, when you reach out in your lane to attack someone, it pauses. And then you can switch your lane, and then your character comes back to home base basically on a different lane. And as it comes back, it backstabs enemies, so it takes some damage. That was increased, so that made it a little easier. And also the damage when you attack someone over stamina, you would attack them, you'd juggle them or whatever.
Yeah.
And then whatever your damage to them, it would take off 25% of that damage because you did it over stamina when you shouldn't have, basically. That's hard to explain, but but they reduced that to 10%, so it made it a little easier. So now I'm playing it with that, post-patch, it made it easier to play. So they've dealt with the difficulty a little bit in terms of some of those things. But then they added a quote-unquote tutorial. When I started the next run, it had this little screen that showed your attacks and the enemy's stamina and was trying to get you to understand those things need to match for you to take them down, basically, which was never explained earlier. And the way that they tried to explain it in the patch still is pretty obtuse. So I think they were trying, but I think didn't succeed.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one. You got to figure out what that line is. And I do feel like seeing the reviews on this, like, they probably should just be very clear about that. Like, first time someone plays going like, no, the one thing you need to know about this game is these stamina bars do that number of attacks. Like, that's what you need to know.
That's right.
You guys do 1, 2, or 3. Guys have.
And once I figured that out, it unlocked everything, and it's still tough.
Oh, yeah.
You get overwhelmed, but you're just like, you just feel like a beast when you're just like when you match everything up perfectly. It just feels like I'm the smartest person on the planet. Like this just it's so satisfying. I put 8 hours into that game starting on Thursday night.
Nice.
It's good. I'm really, really happy that I decided. I wasn't going to, and then I bought it right before my trip because I wanted something new to play. And I'm glad I did. The other game I bought, which mainly because good reviews and it's the right price point, is $12.99. It's a Switch timed exclusive called Graceful Explosion Machine. You're basically, it's like a simpler version of Geometry Wars. It's your little. It's not twin stick shooter, but you're this little spaceship shooting enemies basically in this colorful little world, racking up points. It's a high score chasing kind of game. Each planet has like 9 levels, and there are 4 planets, and then the game's over. But you're basically trying to rack up multipliers and scores, and you have different weapons. It's better to see it. So if you're interested in that kind of I don't know, colorful Geometry Wars kind of clone, check out Graceful Explosion Machine. But it's the $13 is the right price for it, and it's really fun.
Nice.
I went to a expecting parents meetup last night, and we played poker, and I won. So I had quite a bit of money from winning. So I figured I'm going to buy a game. So that was fun. And that's what I've been playing this week. And I'm going to probably start Edith Finch is what we're playing, right?
Edith Finch?
What Remains of Edith? No. What's our
Ethan Carter.
Ethan Carter. I'm getting that mixed up with a different game.
Yeah, Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
That's right. I'm getting mixed up with What Remains of Edith Finch. Sorry. Okay, so I might start that tonight. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Probably more Zelda.
I was gonna say sleep or Zelda is probably what you're gonna do.
It's true.
Yeah. So that has been episode 80 of Prof and Dev Play Games. If you would be so kind, review us on your podcast service of choice. That would be great. Let us know how we're doing. I'm at Prof Plays Games on Twitter. He is at SummerSpeak on Twitter. Anything you want to close us out with, Anthony?
No, I don't think so. Keep playing games, and I'd be very interested to hear from more people playing Has Been Heroes. The way you've talked about it, I'm pretty sure I'll pick it up, and I kind of want to see other people that it's clicked with. Like, from a developer standpoint, I just want to, that's one thing that I kind of want. I'd love to know when it clicks for people.
Yeah, and if people have the stamina to go 3 hours through a game that's hard as nails before you finally get it, like how much patience do people have?
Yeah.
It's very
interesting. So if people want to hit me up on Twitter, any listeners that want to try it, I would love to know, like, from a case study, just as a developer, it's an interesting one, because I'm in that dilemma right now. So
right, that's awesome. Also, hit us up if you cashed in the Chroma Squad Steam code that was in our news section. Let us know at SummerSpeak at Prof Plays Games. This has been episode 80. Thanks for being here, and we are out.
Night.
Night, folks.